Hey guys, it is Rapmark here. So, doing the season finale and series review for Moon Knight. So, we're doing episode 6. This is the final one, at least as far as we hear. Uh, this is it. So, did it tie everything up? Yes and no. On the whole, I have to say I actually really enjoyed this episode. There was, I thought though it was a bit rushed. So I mean, you have so many things going on. They have to get out of the underworld. He has to go get uh, Grant. Mark has to go get Grant. Steven, whatever. Yeah, and then they have to free Khonshu, and then, like that. There's just so much going on. And while I don't think they did an atrocious job, there were parts that did seem rushed and unsatisfying. So let's see. Before I get like really into it, I mean, I'm not going to split this into spoilers, non-spoilers, but I'm at least going to try to go over what I thought of the episode first, give a rating, and then I'm going to go over the episode. So it seemed very rushed. There were a lot of once again, Oscar Isaac just nails his performance. Harrow, I don't know. I thought he was done competently throughout most of the series. I mean, obviously in some parts, like especially episode what was it, 3, maybe 2, where he for some weird reason went to go stop them trying to find a star map. Um, he was a little over the top, and it's just like, what's the point of him being here? But I mean, for the most part, he was competently done. This one, it was kind of a sad downgrade for his character, because he went to essentially just being from a complicated character who obviously had his own issues of like abuse and manipulation from Khonshu. He went from that to essentially just being a complete, just like in it for Amit, which I mean, and Amit was released. Um, so yeah, I wasn't a fan of that. I was surprised. I did end up liking Layla in this episode, and I think it was because she actually got some fight scenes. She became the Avatar of Tarawet, and it was fairly interesting. I think that just worked for me. There was a lot of like there was a whole thing of Tarawet talking through her, and it was like and okay, so on that scene, like it was a bit over the top when she was just talking to Khonshu because he wanted her to be his avatar because Mark's dead. Um, but yeah, that didn't happen, and then Tara comes, and then the two of them just talking together. That's It was a little over the top, but in a good way. I did thoroughly enjoy it. Let's see what else. I like the epic god battle. Not the first one, because the sad thing is Harrow breaks into the temple to go free Amit and kills all the avatars, and it's all done off screen. Like you don't see anything. Yeah, it's slightly ridiculous. Very rushed, doesn't feel earned. Layla freeing Conchu, it was quick. I mean, it worked, but again, it just seemed rushed. Um, I did like the Mark finding Steven but them escaping from the Duat and yeah, them escaping from the Duat. It seemed fairly contrived and like that aspect of it seemed rushed and again unearned. Like what is going on? There, a throwaway line about Osiris, you softy. Uh, yeah, okay. But yes, I did like the fights. The fights between uh, Hero as Amit's avatar, and then as with Steven and Mark as Moon Knight. That it was super fun. It was super satisfactory. I loved it, but I wanted more. I wanted more. I just, for me, I think they focused so much on the DID stuff, which worked and had okay, let me put that a different way. The When they focused on the DID stuff, it actually worked. It was actually firing up. It was amazing. Like it's again, number 5 would have been a solid 10 if it was a standalone episode. Uh, and then this one I didn't think was a bad episode. I think it scored higher than most of the other episodes, with the exception of 5. I didn't I didn't like it as much as 5. 5 was just absolutely amazing. This one, it was good. It was good. It was pretty good. But yeah, nowhere near a 9, 10 if it was a standalone episode. Um, but yeah, I didn't mind the CGI that much. I mean, there's a big god battle between Amit and Khonshu, and it actually looks really epic. I mean, it's a little weird when you consider that people can't actually see like god stuff. So it's like invisible, but there's still damage happening. It's so I mean, when you don't think about it, it looks really epic. But when you start to think about it, just like, man, what does this look like for like everyone else who can't see these two fighting? Uh, and after all said and done, Mark and Steven are granted freedom. It doesn't say what happens to Layla and Tarwet. So, but I mean, so what is she called? Like, it's like the Scarlet Scarab or something like that. Let me. Scarlet Scarab. Yeah, yeah. The Scarlet Scarab. So, oh my gosh, I lost my train of thought. Shoot. Oh yeah, yeah. I mean, to be honest, that episode was just like, you know what? If her character continues on, is just like sweet. But man, yeah, because I think it works well when they don't focus on like the relationship between Mark and her and Steven and her as a character like I could get behind is honestly my opinion. And I just, with her outfit, her fighting style, it's like our first Egyptian superhero. And yeah, I would be very interested to see more of her, to be honest. I thought she came off very strongly in this episode, to be honest, in my opinion. Um, and then there's obviously a mid-credit trailer, that I will spoil, but I'll talk more about it later on when we're doing more of a discussion on the episode. Uh, but yeah, honestly, I think the episode was competently done for the most part. But there were certain elements that just seemed really convenient, really contrived, and just really rushed. And I want to see more. And no, I do think that is a good thing. Me wanting to see more. I do think it did its job to get interest built up for it. The problem is the way they did it. This first season just seemed unsatisfying, unfortunately. So, what do I give this episode? Whew. Honestly, I'd probably give this a 7. Which again is higher than pretty much all 1 through 4. It's lower than 5, but 7's still pretty good. Like, I did enjoy it, but once again, it just seems so rushed. And there were just so many things there were a few things that weren't even resolved, like the whole argument between Layla and Mark, between him killing her father. It's just sort of thrown out. It's just something that it turned into a plot device, you know. And having looked into the character a little more, I mean, that's kind of a big deal. In real life, that would be a big deal, but it's literally used as just a plot device here, and it went nowhere. Uh, so yeah, 7 out of 10. This is, I think, above average. And to be honest, like if you wanted to skip the first four up, well, no, don't skip the first episode, but do like episode 1 and then 5 and 6. You'd probably be fine because the other ones were just not great. I think I gave episode 1 it was a 6 or a 7. And then no, I think it was a 6. 2 was a 6. 3 was a 5. It almost was a 4. Uh, 4 was back at a 6, almost a 7. 5 was at a 9, almost 10. Like, ugh. And then 6, 7. So, I mean, this isn't a bad series. This is definitely not a bad series. So, I'll talk about what I give it as a series a little bit later. So, let's talk about the actual episode. So, um, so yeah, Mark and Steven are still dead. So Steven's in the duat, turned to sand, and Mark's just like, I can't. And then he finds him really quick, which I guess kind of makes sense. Um, and then he talks to him, how he protected him, and how he couldn't ever leave him behind. Uh, and he starts turning into sand, and then yeah, the apparently there's a heart between the two of them. They hold hands, and it like puts them both back to normal. Uh, and the gates of Osiris open, and yeah, and that's another one where I'm just like, okay. And then there's a tidal wave of sand, and that looks cool. And Toret sort of sails her boat through it, so it kind of slows it down or something. I don't know. They both make it through, but yeah, it's never explained other than a line that Twilight says, where it's just this like, "Osiris, you softy," and and just like, okay, so that happened. Not really explained or went into. Obviously, Harrow, he gets the statue. He goes and cracks open the temple, and that's when the avatars go to confront him, and then he attacks and it kills them all. And it's just like, but it doesn't. He does it off screen. Like it shows this glowing light from his staff, and after he gets the statue, the staff changes into a crocodile sort of thing, and like now he can just tap, and anyone in the local area gets their soul gets sucked up. But yeah, it's. I wish they hadn't have done that off screen because that would have been very cool to see. That would have looked amazing to see, to be honest. And I they need more fight scene. The show did not have a lot of action, so they did great on focusing on the DID aspect of it. They did not do a good job. I mean, on this episode they did, but again, it felt rushed with doing the action. You know how he's a vigilante, and it just I don't know. Everything else I feel they tried to do in this, they played down most of the action and vigilantism, and they focused mostly on the DID. And then when they didn't, they focused on the dumbest stuff, like again, Mark and Layla's relationship, which it's kind of rushed upon, and then Layla and Steven, and that was the most awkward kiss in episode 4. Yeah, it just I don't know. I wish they had focused on, but I guess I mean the budget was on the tail end these last 2 episodes because that's or on this last episode, and then the 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 fifth one there wasn't a lot of action besides the end part, but man, it was great writing. It was great everything. Anyway, I'm kind of deviating, but oh well. So Contra rebonds with them, but now Steven is able to. He essentially negotiates and is just like, I will release the two of you. And if you do this for me. And then that's pretty much that. And that was fine. A little on the quick side, but I mean, I guess souls are being drained, so Layla, she picks up the scarab from Mark Stevens' dead body, and she follows him, and then that's when I told you about the staff. So while she's in here and he's busy taking out the guards, he goes to break out Khonshu, who is entrapped in an again, I don't know how to pronounce it, but a statue, and then she breaks it, and that seemed a little quick as well. It's just like this didn't feel very tenseful, suspenseful, like there was ever really any danger involved in it. So there's that. So anyway, later discovers from a dying, I believe that's Osiris avatar, that Ammit can be defeated if at least 2, because I mean when they defeat her, there's at least 2 of them to bind her into into an avatar. So she binds with Tourette, and that was a super funny scene. Like she's talking with Khonshu, he's talking about making her his avatar, and she's just like, no. It's just like I don't trust. And to be honest, that part seemed a little over the top. But I mean, I kind of also get it. I didn't think it was terrible, but it just seemed a little over the top, in my opinion. And then, but then after he leaves, he goes to fight Ahmet, and that was also another fun fight scene between him and her in the temple. That was, yeah, that was pretty fun until he discovers that they are back, both Mark and Steven, and goes to rebind with them. But yeah, then she talks to Tourette and man, just like Layla, just the track. So again, it was over the top, but it was over the top in a good way, and then going back and forth between her, Layla and Tourette talking. It was super fun. I actually really enjoyed it. I can acknowledge it. It seemed over the top. I don't think it was like I don't think it edged into the cringe territory. I just found it really fun, and I actually really enjoyed it. So then the temple kind of gets destroyed, and she creates this costume, and man, it looks great. She has freaking it just looks amazing. Like she has swords, wings, an amazing like Egyptian, but yet like with crazy armor type. It's a little hard to explain like off the top of my head, but no, it was super fun. I enjoyed it. And then she goes, and that's when we go into the epic fight scene. He turned, so Khonshu is just like, how do we get there? And Khonshu turns it into night, and that's how he gets big. And Ahmet's just like, damn. So all of her followers are now able to judge everybody. And so they attack everyone in Cairo, and all their souls go and get consumed by her, and she gets big. And then her and Khonshu fight. And man, it looks like, again, the CGI a little hokey, but I think this CGI actually looked fairly well. I don't think it looked like super cringe, and I think they did a good job of making it seem epic. Again, I wish there was more of it because the short duration of the fight just it made it seem a little rushed, which again was this whole episode because they're tying in so much stuff. I think they did it competently, but they rushed it a lot. And then I love how both Steven and Mark can fight at this time, both in both of their little suits. At one point, though, he gets knocked over by Harrow, and then his soul is both their souls are being drained, and then suddenly blackout, and then he's somewhere, and it's just like, oh my gosh. So so again, I knew very, very little of Moon Knight, so I kind of got that there was two, but the more I looked at, then I saw that there was a third, Jake Lockley, and that's where the I think three times where he blacked out and was just like, oh God, no one. Who did this? Mark didn't do it. Steven didn't do it. So yeah, Jake Lockley, the third personality who is just a total badass. And when all things seem at their worst point, he whoops ass. And from what I hear, and I don't know if this is correct or not. Again, I'm scratching the surface at this point, but I am interested in looking and reading some of the comics of Moon Knight. But he was like someone who actually Steven created. So like an alt of an alt, and it's just like, okay. It's like, how deep can we go into this? So anyway, Harrow is like has the shit beaten out of him. All of his followers that were closing in on him are like dead. It's just like, okay. And then they take him to the temple, do a spell which binds Ahmet to her Harrow, and then he's gonna go kill her. Layla's just like, no. And Khonshu's just like, kill them. We can't risk if Ahmet escapes again. And in this point, like I kind of go with Khonshu. Like, sure, he has a choice, but I mean, these are clearly like it would be so much easier just to kill them both and just be done with it. But no, he doesn't want to kill, so he doesn't. And then Khonshu releases both Steven and Mark. But it doesn't go into what happened with Layla. I mean, obviously she is the Scarlet Scarab, and that's amazing. So I wonder how they're going to play it. If she just is just constantly Zorat's avatar, which would be super funny, or if it's just a per basis, whatever. But yeah, I absolutely loved her. It was super fun. Um, and then there was this weird hospital scene where they both just I was a little confused as to why that scene was included. I mean, I guess it's just to like proceed through life together, and they're now sharing the body. It's it's a little yeah, it's a little crazy. But yeah, that scene was just kind of confusing, and I felt it could have been added by adding more action or whatever. Uh, and yeah, that's that. And then finally, the mid-credit scene. Haro is in a hospital, and he gets taken by this guy speaking Spanish. And you think, okay, what's going on? And then you see one of the hospital employees dead. And it's just like, oh my god, is this Jake? Is this how they're introducing Jake? That was my opinion. And I'm just like, ah! Uh, and yeah, he gets pushed into a limo, and Conchu is there. And it's just like, why would I need anyone else? He doesn't realize just how broken he is. Meet my friend, Jake Lockley. And then he proceeds to just blow Harrow away. And yeah, so the third altar, who is still bonded to Kanju. So yeah, I mean, honestly, I thought that the episode was done competently. I did enjoy it, but there were certain things that seemed rushed, a couple things that seemed unnecessary, some things that were cut short or just not addressed, period. But overall, I did enjoy the episode. I thought it was good. I liked the action. I just wish there was more of it. And that I hope there's a number two, but I mean, from what I've read, they still don't know. It hasn't been greenlit, so I hope there is, because this was an unfortunately unsatisfactory ending to a standalone series. Because I want to see more Moon Knight. I want to see more Moon Knight. But if they're not going to do that, then yeah, this was an unsatisfying series, which I'd probably give. I'll get to that in a minute, but anyway, yeah. So yeah, just to go about the series on a whole, like the problem was it just the pacing of the whole series just seemed super weird. Like the first one was intriguing, the second one was third one was ugh, fourth one was okay. We're starting to get someplace. Fifth one was just like, holy shit, this is good. And then the sixth one was just like, it was okay. It was competently done, but again, far too rushed. Like the pacing of this series was just all over the place, and it drove me crazy. And I wish they'd focused on stuff that they focused on in 5 and 6 throughout the whole series. Like literally. Well, okay, fair enough. Episode 1 as well, but seriously, that's 3 episodes that it's just like you could have done expanded on so much of all 3 of these episodes through that. And I wonder if they're going to do a Jon Snow there, where it's just like, for those who aren't aware of Game of Thrones, like Kit Harington died at some point in Game of Thrones and said he was done. He's never coming back. Like, that's it. He's dead. He came back, and they'd planned it the whole time because they kept his beard, including all the other movies he was in. And so, yeah, I mean, if they're pulling that, I I'd be so mad, but so glad at the same time because I do want to see more of this, but at the same time, that's manipulative and it's stupid to like pull crap like that. I mean, unless it's not set in stone, because again, if they haven't gotten, yeah, if they haven't gotten, wow, tip of the tongue, Oscar Isaacs, there we go, to sign on to it because he didn't want to get the golden cuffs, whatever. Uh, then I kind of get it, but I mean, if this was like completely planned, then yeah, I would be I'd be pissed. I'd be happy, but I'd be pissed at the same time. And I wish they didn't focus like things that didn't work for me. Layla, for the most part, I didn't like the whole chemistry between her and Steven, her and Mark. It seemed a little bit forced. Um, whereas, and then Steven, it just seemed like, ugh. And then the pacing, obviously, and that is ultimately what kind of ruined it for me, as like the last episode, which again, I didn't like the gods because it's just like you are so dumb, and it's just like okay. The only gods that I actually liked were Tuaret and Khonshu. I mean, Amit wasn't around long enough for me to actually form too much of an opinion other than she's bad news bears. Like she has to be dealt with quickly, otherwise she's going to swallow every soul in the whole world. So yeah, overall this the final episode 7 out of 10. What am I going to give the series as a whole? Ugh. I'm probably gonna. I'm so torn between a 6 and a 7. I don't know. If season 2 comes out, I will probably do a lot of apologizing and say, okay, we'll do so. Especially if they actually do season 2 right. If they don't focus on the stuff that didn't work in this season. But yeah, if there's no season 2, I have to give this a 6 because it feels unsatisfying. Like it makes me want more, but more is not guaranteed. I mean, unless it is. Um, so yeah, if more's incoming, like I would boost. If I knew more was coming, I'd probably boost this to a 7 because it did its job and it made me more intrigued and it made me want to see more. The problem is it is not guaranteed. We're not guaranteed to get see more, and yeah, if that's the case, then this was very unfulfilling. A terrible cliffhanger, like those Netflix shows that gets canceled and you never see them again, and they end on terrible cliffhangers. Yeah. So yeah, I think I'm gonna have to give this one a 6 just because I don't know, and if more actually comes out, I mean it is what it is. Like I said, if I knew more was coming out, I'd give it a 7. But yeah, with not knowing if more is going to come out, I have to give it a 6 because I have to assume no more is coming out because that's what they're saying. So yeah, worth watching, I would say, and super fun in places, but man, the pacing is all over the place. So anyway, that is it from me on this review for Moon Knight episode 6 and the Moon Knight series as a whole. Anyway, I hope you enjoy. I will catch you guys next time. See ya.